Hello, I'm Steve Nunn, President and CEO of the Open Group. Welcome to Toolkit Tuesday, where we highlight the various components and leading experts of the Architect's Toolkit, a collated portfolio of the most pertinent technology standards for enterprise architects. During the series, I'll be calling on a number of recognized experts who will bring their particular insights on how to most effectively use the various tools in the Architect's Toolkit. We'll have a mix of interviews, panel sessions, and pre-recorded presentations along the way. While all standards of the Open Group are designed so they can be adopted independently of one another, the greatest value for an organization can be derived when they're used in unison. The sum of the parts should be greater than the whole. In the Architect's Toolkit, we have collated a portfolio of the most pertinent ones for architects together all in one place. For most of these tools, certification from the Open Group is also available, so practitioners can demonstrate that they have the skills required, and recruiters can take the guesswork out of the recruitment process, all backed up by our Open Badges program.
Just say no. For some of us, that was what Whammo from Grange Hill sang about in his message on drugs to kids. Apologies for those not fortunate enough to have watched UK kids programmes in the 80s. However, it's also an essential behaviour of an EA who can survive. The pressure to say yes, or worse still, being told the only allowed response to an idea is yes and, may seem positive, but in fact it negates the benefit of having an EA function. Whilst EAs can add creativity and novelty, it's unlikely the reason the chief exec all their leadership team decided to have an EA function with the likes of you in it was actually to affirm everything through, or even worse, to exacerbate the craziness. So saying no is important, and someone who can say no is extremely valuable. It causes people to stop, check back, justify. Admittedly, this can be seen as anti-agile, and it can be an awkward place to sit in a room of excited, positive go-getters. But it's not about stopping progress, it's about checking viability before everything goes too far and ensuring there's a way to validate the plan. Which brings us back to the whole viability and validation purpose. This is essentially what an architect does. The reason, I can test, we are actually there. So, go on, sprinkle in a little bit of no.
Welcome everyone to the last Toolkit Tuesday special edition of 2024. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today, and my thanks as ever to Paul Homan. Just Say No, isn't that a great name for this week's or this month's EA Minute? Thanks again, Paul, much appreciated as ever. And just a quick word of housekeeping before we start our session today with our main speaker. And that's how we do questions here at Toolkit Tuesday. Please use the Q&A channel if you can. If you can't see it, then click on the three little dots in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and that will give you the option to click on the Q&A channel. Please ask questions for our speaker today in there. Please use the chat channel to interact with other attendees, and we love to have you let us know where you're joining us from. We're very proud of our global audience for Toolkit Tuesday, and in fact most of the Open Group activities. So please let us know where you're joining us from in the chat channel, and use that for giving us any feedback as well. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to introduce today's speaker, who is my colleague Dennis Stevens. Dennis is the Program Director here at the Open Group for the OSDU Forum, and he's also Consortium Director for the Open Group Energistics Consortium. Dennis has over 38 years of electrical engineering, management and business development experience. So a bit of background about the OSDU Forum. It's made up of over 210 major energy organizations with over 2,400 registered participants. And it's creating an open source software platform and associated standards for use by the energy industry. The objective of the OSDU data platform is to harmonize and optimize the compute infrastructure for both subsurface and renewable energy data. And today, Dennis is going to take us through what's been achieved so far, which is a list of considerable achievements, and what's on the roadmap for the future. So without further ado, please welcome to Toolkit Tuesday, Dennis Stevens.
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Steve. And welcome to our members attending this webinar on Toolkit Tuesday, focused on the OSDU data platform. I'm Dennis Stevens. I'm the OSDU Forum Program Director, and today we're going to talk about the OSDU Forum, what it is, how it operates, and what it's producing. So before we get talking about the OSDU data platform itself and the OSDU Forum, let's just quick briefing in the Open Group and what we are and how we fit into the picture. Now, the Open Group is a global consortium. We operate worldwide, have offices around the world, and our key goal is to create open standards and software for the various communities that advance the technology, advance information technology for those communities. We do that through fostering a culture of collaboration. Everything from the buyer to the seller to the academia to consultants all participate in our forums and achieve their business goals through the facilitation of the Open Group. That facilitation focuses on identifying key business needs, solving those or identifying the problems, and then collaboratively with the rest of the ecosystem coming up with solutions. In the OSDU Forum, we're focused on open source software, and as a result, we provide DevOps tools, community GitLab, and member GitLab, and various other tools, a hosting environment, to develop that open source software. Then we do that in a vendor-neutral manner, and so that it doesn't favor any one technology. It's what we call technology agnostic. The Open Group publishes standards and business guides to support the data platform, and we have a certification program that oversees and ensures conformance to not only the platform being developed, but also applications that reside on that platform. We often get asked the question, what is OSDU? What is the forum? Well, before we can answer that question, the fundamental question is, what does OSDU stand for? And it is a moniker that came up about 5-6 years ago, and it stands for Open Subsurface Data Universe. However, we dropped using that name because the applicability of the data platform spans way beyond subsurface. We're now into carbon capture and utilization strategies as offshoots in other forums, utilizing some of the key technologies from the data platform. But we're also looking at and have fledgling inroads into hydrogen, geothermal, photovoltaic, solar, to name a few. And we're extending into areas like mining as well. But at the heart of it, the OSDU Forum is an industry consortium that enables all of our stakeholders to collaboratively work together to advance the technology to meet the evolving needs of the energy industry. We have over 2,400 people registered in the OSDU Forum from over 200 member organizations that span operators, nationalized oil companies, independent software, mining companies, system integrators, software companies, academia, cloud service providers, and consultants. And all of them come together under the auspices of the Open Group to solve the problems and create products. Plus, we have sharing agreements with other industry standards bodies and representative groups such as Energistics, PPDM, Blockchain for Energy, SEG, GMG, to name a few, OPC Foundation. And the fundamental reason for those sharing agreements is that we don't want our members wasting time developing standards or software that's already been invented and is willing to be shared collaboratively through legal agreements with the OSDU Forum members through the Open Group. The OSDU Forum members truly represent the global energy ecosystem in the world today. So what are the problems that originally came up that we're solving in the OSDU data platform? About 5-6 years ago, it was realized by some of the major energy providers that they may be lagging a little bit back then in deploying digital transformation in their workflows. Common issues that were expressed in our meetings, that they were working in silos, and those silos had barriers to entry. And the barriers to entry did not allow other applications, other use of the data to be exploited by other either members of their own company or through intercompany joint ventures. To be able to share that information is critically important. The lack of that interoperability and lack of standardization, no matter what industry it is, it hinders innovation. If you have PhDs in the back lab developing some new algorithms or new processes, if they're using a language that is incompatible with the language of the data sharing that exists in the organization or other organizations, then that innovation is inhibited. Fundamental costs of OpEx and CapEx remained high, and remained high because of the cost of labor to do an intensive search and finding and looking for that data so that they can make business decisions out of it, such as the geophysicists trying to identify horizons and such of seismic data. To find the right data was challenging. And then cloud initiatives. There's movement. There had been movement to the cloud, but these were proprietary algorithms or proprietary initiatives. And the solutions weren't cloud native, they were cloud enabled. This is what we're doing here is cloud native. The mining community came on very shortly, 6 months back, and frankly expressed a very similar concern of what they were experiencing and coming to the OSDU Forum to solve it. Such things as data integrity, ensuring that the data that they were looking at had some level of quality assurance to it, depending on independent of the source of that data. The use of cloud-based repositories to make easy access to that data available to them. The need for advanced analytics to operate on that data, such as AI and other machine learning workflows. To automate fundamental workflows in a standardized approach, not a one-off bespoke approach. And then finally, faster decision making, ultimately leading to the ability to target that resource and identify the resource and speed up the exploration process to recover that resource and bring value to the company. So we're a data-driven vision in OSDU to reduce those data silos to enable transformational workflows, to accelerate deployment and create open standards-based ecosystem to drive that innovation into the future. Now, how did we do that in OSDU? Very simply, instead of starting with a standard, we started with a solution. The members got together, identified fundamental capabilities, and immediately began building software, and with some contributions that you'll see in a minute. That fundamental software led to an algorithmic set that does data ingestion. This thing called the OSDU Data Platform does data ingestion, data indexing, search, and ultimately visualization of the data and aids in that. The software is developed in an open source environment. It utilizes the Apache 2.0 license, and the legal folks in your organization, if you talk to them about that, they'll acknowledge that it's one of the most liberal open licenses that places very few, if any, encumbrances on the use of that software. The APIs and data domain models are published and open, so there's no proprietary barriers to use those. It is targeted to be hosted agnostically in a cloud infrastructure and, frankly, on-premise. Today, it is available commercially on Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, and Google. And there are also private instantiations of it. So it's moving, and it is real. And it's backed by open technical standards that are in process and being developed as we speak today. Those technical standards cover architecture, APIs, data models, and schemas that are all used to ingest and identify the data and characterize the data properly in the data platform. There's operational use procedures being developed as well as certification policies. Training modules are out on our website right now, so if you're a software developer, you can utilize those training modules to get a start in how to develop software for the data platform. And we use test data from donated real-life, for example, seismic data sets to test the validity of the platform. In a snapshot, this is what the platform architecturally looks like. Source data comes from the left, That source data can be data internal to your company, external to your company, shared through joint ventures, shared through the blockchain that's being developed and emerging onto the scene. That data then comes in and goes through the platform does a data preparation where the data is brought in and prepared for use internal to the platform, such things as tagging for entitlements and obligations, who can look at the data, how long they can look at the data, as well as various storage modalities based on the type of data that's being processed. The platform handles that type of stuff. Furthermore, in the core services, the enablement of file storage and specialized storage is done in that sector of the data platform, enabling indexing of the data and ultimately searching of the data in a very efficient manner. Then the ability to export that data to generate consumption models so that the geophysicists, the regulatory and compliance community, as well as the business community with the proper credentials can access that data very efficiently and make business value out of it. A little deeper dive into the data platform would be looking at, the application space written by vendors in the proprietary space. This is where value add is brought on outside of the OSDU Forum, but those applications must be able to be coupled to the platform. The modality for doing that is for standardized APIs, application programmer interfaces, and standardized data models and schemas used to represent the data. Those are all the standardization and subject to certification. So if you're an application developer up here, your algorithms are proprietary and they're for you to make money on. But to be certified, you will need to adhere to these APIs and data models and schemas and such. They are the contracts that allow you access to the core code, to ingress and egress information from that core code, and also for storage modalities and other special treatment of unique domains like wellbore or seismic or mining information or wind farm information or geothermal information. Those will be handled uniquely in these DDMS segments of the core code. Then on the south side are what we call the SPI. These are the contracts, the APIs that allow that code to operate on cloud or on-premise. And so today, the way the forum is structured, we have 4 cloud providers that I spoke of earlier. Each of them writes interface code that allows them to connect to the data platform. And they allow that interoperability so that if someone writes an application up here to these APIs and data models, they will be able to access the algorithms in here, and those algorithms in here can run on any one of these cloud infrastructures through this interface code. That's how we run today, and it works very well. The future and improvement in the efficiency of that is to harmonize even further this interface code by genericizing it using open source service modules for storage, CPU, and I/O drivers. We call it the mappers and drivers. This is the Venus release here that you'll be hearing about shortly. And then that allows the cloud service providers to use that one set of interfaces. It also allows for private cloud or high performance compute centers to use that information as well, to use the data platform as well. And so today, if we look back at 2018 when we started, Shell, Chevron, Wipro, EPAM, a whole bunch of other companies and the cloud service providers all worked diligently to do the Mercury release, the first release of the data platform back in the 2021 timeframe. Since then, there's been 24 milestone releases of improvements to that code. We call them milestone or M releases. And the 4 cloud providers have each created their own commercial instances, each bringing that back into the forum to test and make sure that it adheres to the principles of the OSDU data platform. And that became part of our release process. As we went forward, we realized in this time frame, 2023, 2024, that process could be improved on efficiency by creating what we call the Venus release, which is now a single release of code And that single release of code with the genericized mappers and drivers will be then used forward by not only the CSPs, but other entities to download and add their own value to and commercialize. And I would argue that this leveling off of productivity is actually going to be exponential. I'll place a little wager on that right now. That enablement at this point in time with machine learning and AI, blockchain, and et cetera, is going to drive productivity extremely rapid. That derivative is going to be very, very positive, not approaching zero. The Venus release is what you saw on the previous pages, which is the APIs. The applications are over here. APIs couple that into the core code. That is all pretty much the same. There might be a little bit of refactoring, but the mapper driver area changes. And then we follow the development pipeline, the CI/CD development pipeline on our community GitLab that's open to all of the members, ultimately leading to quality assurance testing, pre-ship testing, and standardized testing. Then that goes into what's called the Venus release folder. Now, the 4 cloud service providers take that release, they run it through their internal pipelines, yielding a commercial version of it for use in the market. In addition, an on-premise development, so we have someone that wants to use a private cloud or their own high-performance compute can download that Venus release and run it through their own development process in their shop and set it up for utilization in their company. How is value created and understood in the OSDU data platform? Business capabilities are emulated and discussed and ultimately codified in the platform. So we agree on common process workflows through debate and discussion, through common terminology. A well is a well is a well, whether it's looked at from a production community, from an exploration community, or a drilling community. The terminology must be the same when it is utilized in the OSDU data platform, and that codification occurs in OSDU. We develop primary and secondary inputs and outputs, and we prioritize what capabilities need to go into the data platform. An example of that would be the petrophysical well evaluation process, and all the way from seismic acquisition through the well evaluation. These 2 major categories of business capabilities are then mapped into services such as seismic, earth modeling, wellbore, field development, production, to name a few of the services. So we look at capabilities needed, we map them into services, and then from that, we look at the applications. For example, if we took that one business capability of petrophysical well evaluation, we take and look at what applications are used today. What data is used in those applications? What is the primary data? What is the secondary data that is used in those applications? And then what needs to be in the data platform to emulate all of this and create workflows to successfully emulate petrophysical well evaluation? This is the type of activity that goes on in our forum on the standards side. The forum at work, we have, when you first enter, you get a briefing from me on the legal and operating framework, and then you become, or someone in your organization will become, a member of the focal points. That's our strategic decision-making body. They vote on publication, they vote on elections. Then we have the OSDU Management Committee, 11 members. 5 of them are operators, 3 of them are cloud service providers, and 3 of them are vendors. They are a tactical decision-making company, a tactical decision-making organization. They make the tactical decisions for the forum. The Project Management Committee manages the creation of the software, all the various capabilities. We have several capability groups that focus on the creation of those individual capabilities and the algorithms and the programming behind them. And then on the standard side, we have working groups that focus on the data models and data definitions from geochemistry down through production, renewables, et cetera. We have a business outlook and business view business subcommittee that focuses on the business aspects of the forum. Enterprise architecture looks at the overall architecture from a data model, from a data architecture, from all of the constructs of architecture are handled there. Make sure what we're building is fit for purpose and maps to a sound architectural principles. And then information security, not last but certainly not least, is such things as penetration security, entitlements and obligations and such are managed by the forum. So think of the forum as, number one, creating software through our agile development, rapid, build it, test it, fix it, release it in a very rapid manner, coupled with the software or with the standards development side, where you're developing those JSON schemas that are used over here. You're developing the business processes, as we spoke of a few slides back. Both of these typically are in tension with each other, but in the OSDU Forum, we got it down pat where they work very cohesively together. There's plenty of leadership opportunities, benefits for you, and contributions both that you can make and your organization can make to advance the needs and the goals of the OSDU environment. With that, the train literally has left the station. Major operators are using the data platform. Major CSPs are commercialized it, as well as the ISVs. The train has definitely left the station, moving into the data-driven era.
Thank you very much for attending today's Toolkit Tuesday session on the OSDU Forum. I'm Dennis Stevens from the Open Group. I want to express my appreciation to the following content contributors who created material that was used in this presentation. Einar Laundry from Equinor, Steve Tomlinson from Shell, Chad Leon from SLB, Tim Hunter-Rowe from BP, Daniel Bachman from ExxonMobil, Francisco
from the BHP Group, and Steve Philp from the Open Group. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Well, thank you, Dennis. Great stuff as always. And I hope those of you who didn't know that much about the OSDU Forum have been impressed with the achievements to date. It's quite considerable and it really is changing things in the energy world. So thank you, Dennis, and thank you to all our members who contribute to the great work going on inside that forum. As I said at the beginning, this is the last Toolkit Tuesday special edition of this year, but we will be back on January the 14th, where we switch our attention to unlocking the open footprint data model. So the Open Footprint Forum is our forum at the Open Group that is focused on addressing the issue that there is no reliable way of capturing and reporting on energy emissions data right now. So, and a key part of that is the creation of a data model, and you will hear more about that on January the 14th. It's an issue that affects every company at some point, some more than others already, but it's going to be relevant to all of us. So please do join us on January the 14th. Look out for more information about that in between. It just remains for me to say thank you to those of you who have joined us on this and other issues or episodes of Toolkit Tuesday over the course of this year. It's been a great year, 2024. We thought we were done, but back by popular demand. And as you can see, we're going to carry it into 2025 as well. So thank you for your support with Toolkit Tuesday so far and into the future. And wishing all of you who celebrate a joyous and peaceful holiday season and very best wishes for the end of 24 and into 2025. See you next year. Bye-bye.